Coming up on Lexington Now, a local landmark is getting national attention. GTV3 wins an Emmy Award, and downtown is the place to be. This and more up next on this week's edition of Lexington Now. Roberts, and welcome to this edition of Lexington Now. As always, we're giving you a detailed look at what's going on in your urban county government. The Charles Young Center is a gathering place and a source of pride for those living on Lexington's East End. And now those folks have even more to be proud of because this landmark is getting national recognition.
One of the reasons the East End is so historic is right here, the Charles Young Center. And we are proud to announce today that the Charles Young Center is now on the National Register of Historic Places. And we have just gotten the National Register plaque for the building. Now, many of you know that Charles Young had a remarkable and extraordinary life. He was a young man born into slavery in Mays Lick, who became a man who went to West Point and became the first black man to receive the rank of colonel. And this center, which opened in 1935, and the park that surrounded it, have played a remarkable role in the East End and the life of our city and the center of activities for many years. In recent years, we've made investments in the center, and today seems like the icing on the cake.
Charles Young is the anchor of the East End. It's a special place that holds a lot of memories for multiple generations of Lexingtonians. In the beginning, Charles Young was one of just a few public spaces designated for Lexington's black community. But it's important to point out that city officials understood or were made to understand the importance of Charles Young then, and city officials still understand that importance today.
With community input and the direction of its advisory board and the support of the urban county government, this center has experienced revitalization since reopening 4 years ago. As a member of the board, I'm excited about what is happening in this center and even more excited about future potential. It is the desire of the board and the Lexington Fayette Urban County government that the Charles Young Center become a high-traffic resource to its neighbors. Commissioner Jeff Reed, Commissioner Chris Ford, Councilman James Brown are working diligently with us to equip this center for increased community programming and activity. Our goal is to provide spaces for creating more memories that will last a lifetime.
Today signifies a landmark being listed to the National Register. Betty perhaps will talk a little bit about Charles Young, Colonel Charles Young, who is a leader amongst leaders as far as African Americans in military service, rising to the rank of a colonel during his time, the third graduate African American, that is, from the West Point Military Academy at West Point. There's a story about Colonel Young, of his strength and his determination and his fortitude in his efforts to be recommissioned to military service, riding horseback from his home in Wilberforce, Ohio to Washington, D.C. to prove his fitness for service. And he did just that. That is an illustration or an example of the commitment that this community has played in its support and advocacy for the Charles Young Center.
It's a very significant recognition, but it's more than a recognition. It establishes the documentation and the procedural acknowledgement through meeting a very stringent criteria used to evaluate historic properties and resources all over this country for consideration for this designation on the National Register. And back several years ago, I became particularly aware of how much love people have for this park and this community center, not just as a physical element, but because of what it is to those people's lives and to Lexingtonians' lives.
There you go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
For more information about the Charles Young Center, you can log on to the city's website. It's lexingtonky.gov. Here at GTV3, we strive to bring you stories about important issues that are going on in Lexington's community. Last year, we created and aired a documentary about drug use and drug abuse titled Hope in the Face of Addiction. At this year's 2016 Ohio Valley Emmy Awards, GTV3 was awarded an Emmy for this work. Accepting the awards were myself and co-executive producer Neil Noah. We want to show you a clip of this film, which is broken up into sections. In this particular section, you'll get to hear from drug users and their families about the stigma associated with drug addiction.
I went to private schools in Louisville. I'm well educated. I had every opportunity in life, but addiction does not discriminate. It does not discriminate.
I think it's just a preconceived notion that we pigeonhole what an addict should look like. And we need to bust through that misconception, definitely.
I think people want to see the image of the heroin addict in an alley behind a dumpster getting high. And that's what I remember as a kid. That's just not accurate. In Louisville alone, since 2011, we've had a 650% increase in heroin deaths. So it's affecting everybody. Our fastest growing population is young men and women aged 18 to 25, most of them from good families.
I was working for an attorney in Cincinnati wearing a suit and tie to work every day and shooting heroin in the bathroom, you know, and nobody knew. Where it is a disease exactly like cancer or leukemia or what have you, it can strike anyone at any time, no matter your age, your race, your socioeconomic status. It does not discriminate. It doesn't discriminate who it affects and who it hurts.
It is a disease. And I feel like the stigma associated with drug addiction, it's not even there with other addictions. Like, to me, even alcoholics don't have that. People don't look at them the same as they look at a drug addict. Like, that's the lowest of the low. I feel like a lot of people feel like even a gambling addiction's not looked at, sex addiction is not looked at the same. So I feel like if we can get away from that, even for the addict, I feel like they even feel that way about themselves because it's been ingrained.
You can see the entire film, Hope in the Face of Addiction, on GTV3's YouTube page. It's on YouTube at LexKYTV. Well, downtown, where I am right now, particularly Triangle Park, is always a great place to be, but all over downtown, there are wonderful events for you to enjoy. Here's a look at some of the things you can do coming up in the next few weeks.
Looking for something to do this week? Downtown Lexington has it all. Visit downtownlex.com or find us on Facebook and Twitter. This Tuesday at 8 p.m. is Team Trivia Tuesday at Lexington Beer Works. For more information, visit lexingtonbeerworks.com. On Wednesdays from 5:30 until 8, Wines on Vine has a weekly wine tasting, and this week it's with Laura Lynn from Republic National. For more information, visit winesonvine.net. Then on Thursday, it's Central Bank Thursday Night Live, sponsored by Moon Tower Music Festival, brought to you by the Downtown Lexington Corporation. Kenny Owens and Group Therapy will perform at 5:30. This Friday at the Speakeasy is Arbor Youth Services' 3rd annual Burgers, Bourbon, and Beer from 7 to 10 p.m.
His name is Sylvester Stallone. He's been compared to Nicholson, De Niro, and Brando. His name is Sylvester Stallone, but you will always remember him as Rocky.
Also this Friday, the Downtown Lexington Corporation is showing the movie Rocky in Triangle Park at Fountain Films on Friday, sponsored by Paul Miller Ford, starting at 9 p.m. Then on Saturday at 9 a.m. in downtown Lexington at the Robert F. Stevens Courthouse Plaza is the Walk to End Alzheimer's. For more information, visit act.alz.org/Lexington. For everything that's going on in downtown Lexington, visit downtownlex.com or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
For more information about activities going on in downtown, you can visit the Downtown Lexington Corporation site. It's downtownlex.com. And coming up after the break, beer drinkers, get ready to wet your whistle. We'll tell you why.
Hello, I'm Detective Mark Thomas with the Lexington Police Department. You may also know me from Bluegrass Crime Stoppers. I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about a new texting system that we have available through any smartphone. In the body of your message, you can text LexPD plus your tip to crimes. When you're submitting anonymous information, we ask that you include several things that would help us conduct the investigations more thoroughly, such as a person's name, their home address, possible license plate numbers, any other people involved, or why you think that they're conducting the type of activity that you believe that they are. All of those things, no matter how small you believe they could be, are relevant to the investigation. So please include those. So remember, you can send your anonymous tip information either through text, you can call the Bluegrass Crime Stoppers anonymous tip line at 859-253-2020, or you can go online to bluegrasscrimestoppers.com. Thank you.
This message is brought to you by the U.S. Fire Administration. Have two ways out. When fire strikes, deadly smoke can fill your home within minutes. That's why the USFA wants you to plan and practice home fire drills. Draw a map of each level of your home showing all doors and windows. Discuss the map with everyone who lives with you. Practice your home fire drill at least twice a year. Make sure all doors and windows that lead outside open easily. Push the smoke alarm button to start the drill. Try feeling your way in the dark or with your eyes closed. Have at least two ways out of every room. If your first way out is blocked by fire or smoke, you can use your second way out. If there is smoke, get low and go. Crawl quickly under the smoke to your nearest exit. Close doors behind you and gather at a pre-planned outside meeting place where first responders can see you. Call 911. Remember, get out and stay out. Never go back inside for people, pets, or things. Learn more at www.usfa.fema.gov.
Welcome back to the show. On a hot day like today, I like to quench my thirst with, a nice bottle of water. But if you're a craft beer drinker, it's time to work up a thirst of another kind. That's because the 8th annual Festivals is coming up. It's going to be held at the Fifth Third Pavilion.
Hi, I'm Laura Farnsworth, and I'm with the Downtown Lexington Corporation.
And I'm Chris Vandergrift. I work with LexBeerScene.com.
And we're here today to talk about the Lexington Festivals, presented by the Bluegrass Trail. This is the 8th year for the Festivals. It's kind of a can't-miss event for Lexington.
The first one was here in 2009. I had run a festival at the Red Mile for a little while, and we wanted to move it downtown. So I got in touch with the DLC and Laura, and we started a new one right here in the pavilion. It's Lexington's oldest craft beer festival, and because we've been doing it for so long, we get some of the more rare beers and some of the things that people try to seek out It's also a good place to come and learn about craft beer because we have so many styles and so many different things that we can feature. It's also a great place to come and meet the brewers because anybody from about 100 miles away sends either a representative or a brewer down.
Well, we definitely have a lot of repeat guests year to year. I know so many people that have been to every one. So we hope that people, when they leave at the end of that night, they mark their calendars for the next year. It's always the Friday before Labor Day weekend, and we just want everybody to, learn more about beer, learn more about downtown, and make plans to come back.
I hope they leave with more knowledge about craft beer and more knowledge about the breweries that we have here in Kentucky. Almost half of the entire breweries that we're going to have are from Kentucky, so hopefully they leave knowing a little bit more about the culture and the craft that we have.
I hope they leave with a good sense of downtown, what downtown Lexington has to offer, that it's clean, safe, fun. We do just dozens of events downtown every year, Lexington Festivals being one of the more fun events, but there's something almost every weekend. The good thing about the Lexington Festivals, though, is that it's not just for beer lovers. We also have a full bar, live music, food vendors, so if all of your friends are big craft beer drinkers and maybe you are not so much, come on down. There's definitely something for everybody. Outside of growing larger every year, it's grown a lot more prime, you might say. The first year we had lots of different beer, and that was great. Chris, who selects the beer every year, definitely gets more particular, and like we said, we get better quality beer, more rare items. So I think it's definitely gotten more select, and for the craft beer drinker, that's definitely what it's about. I know every year we get beers that you may not even see in this area at all, and so it's a hot ticket.
We're pushing out the imports. I think this year we only have maybe 2 imported beers because it's becoming more localized. We're just getting so many new breweries popping up around here that we're having to push out the ones that aren't local just because space and availability.
One new thing this year, we do have a presenting sponsor. It's the Brewgrass Trail. It's a kind of just a trail of the different breweries in Lexington and Central Kentucky. And so they'll be out here with some more information about what they have to offer, which will give people from Lexington and guests in town for the event, an opportunity to learn where these breweries are. It's one thing to meet the brewers here and taste the product, but there's a whole other experience in the actual brewery, and we're really excited about getting that information into the hands of our guests. For more information, including where you can get your tickets, visit LexingtonFestivals.com. Remember, this is a pre-sale event, and this event always sells out.
Tickets and more info are available at www.LexingtonFestivals.com. Schools are back in session across Central Kentucky, and that means there are more vehicles on the road, especially cyclists. So we have some tips to help you share the road safely. Whether you're on a bike or in a car, staying safe on the roadways this summer is everyone's job.
The cars and the bikes, they both have the same rights and responsibilities, and we just want everybody to be aware of that and be safe.
That's why the LFUCG Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, the Lexington Division of Police, the University of Kentucky, and the County Attorney's Office are joining forces on an ad campaign to educate and remind Lexington citizens about what each of them can do to keep our roads safe. Officer Howard Florence is a bike officer for the Lexington Division of Police. Each day he cruises the streets and he sees lots of dangerous and prohibited behavior from drivers and cyclists, especially when it comes to passing and following too closely.
When a motorist encounters a bicyclist on the road, if they're going to pass, so we encourage them to leave at least 3 feet of space as you pass the cyclist. Also, when you encounter them, when cyclists encounter vehicles, they should, just be aware that there is traffic around them. Watch out for opening doors when vehicles are parked.
In addition to those tips, Florence has these tips. Stop for red lights, be visible, share the road, and always ride with the flow of traffic.
They should be going the same direction as the cars are going. The reason why is if you're going against traffic, you have to worry about cars that are pulling out of driveways that may not be looking their particular direction. Also, with pedestrians crossing the streets, the same thing. So the cyclist needs to make sure that they go the same direction and the same side of the road as the car.
He emphasizes that police are out to remind citizens and even write tickets for both bikers and drivers who don't follow the rules.
If it's something that's really egregious, if they run a red light and puts themselves in immediate danger, almost causing an accident, something like that, usually what I try to do is just educate people, because I believe most people they want to do the right thing, they want to obey the law, and sometimes they just don't really realize maybe the consequences of what they were doing. So, you know, for me, I always try to just educate them first and just talk to them, and usually that gets the point across.
Cyclists aren't the only ones you need to be looking out for on area roadways. Mopeds are also a really popular means of transportation, especially when it's warmer outside. But there are some things you need to know before you get on that moped or before you share the road with one. Some might say that with the warm weather, clear skies, and sunny days, there's no better way to get around than on a moped.
Mopeds are very popular, especially since the gas price has gotten so high. A lot of people have turned that to an alternative form of transportation.
However, according to Lexington Police Officer Alvin Cook, not everyone is cruising the streets safely or legally.
The most dangerous one I see is 2 young children under the age of 16 riding a moped together, going down the highway at 30 miles an hour.
That one was a double whammy because 16 is the minimum age for operating a moped, and mopeds are only made for one person at a time. Officer Cook says there's other rules to remember as well.
Number 1, you have to stay in the right-hand lane closest to the right side of the roadway. All slow-moving traffic must be in the right-hand lane. Unless you're getting ready to turn, then you can move over to the turning lane. You cannot travel more than 30 miles per hour. You don't need a helmet for a moped. However, I would suggest that you wear a helmet for your safety.
Cook adds moped safety is a real issue.
Last year in 2011, Lexington experienced 43 moped collisions, which resulted in 35 injuries and 1 fatality. And the fatality was one of the driver of the moped.
That's why Cook says traffic officers and patrol officers are keeping a keen eye out for moped riders.
We have started our local enforcement. I've made all patrol officers and traffic officers aware of the problem that we have, the number of collisions involving mopeds, the age requirement, the moped operator's license, to be on the lookout for these and take enforcement actions when they see it happening.
Not only are police keeping an eye out, but drivers should too.
Mopeds are just like a bicyclist. They have the right of way, they have the use of the lane of traffic. They have to be careful around them. You have to use due caution anytime you pass another vehicle on the roadway. So it's the person that's doing the passing that has to show due regard for the person being passed.
Those same rules apply for motorcyclists, bicycle riders, and pedestrians. Cook says with everyone out trying to enjoy this beautiful weather, we all have to do our best to follow the rules of the road and help to protect each other.
We all need to be aware of our surroundings. Cars, bicyclists, mopeds, skateboarders, whatever, you need to be aware of your surroundings. You should obey all traffic signals, all crosswalks. Everything you think about safety, you should be thinking 100% to protect yourself.
The Urban County Council is back from summer recess, so that means there's a lot going on in your Urban County government. You can get a complete listing of meetings by logging on to the city's website, but here's a quick sneak peek at what's going on this week. That's all for this week's edition of Lexington Now. We'll return next week with more news from your Urban County government. But in the meantime, you can keep up with what we're doing by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also get 24/7 traffic updates by following us on Twitter. Our handle is @LexRex. And if you'd like to see what's going on with traffic, we have a new feature on the city's website, lexingtonky.gov, live traffic cameras. So you can see exactly what's going on out there. For the staff and producers at GTV3, I'm Sherelle Roberts, and that's it for now.